Welcome back. I can't stay away. I want to just continue the line of thinking that we've had here with the last few videos. A lot of it leans back toward field walking, and that's Field Archaeology 101. I want you to be successful, and I want you to understand a little bit about what you're finding, but I want to call your attention to more things. For example, my little rock garden here on the table. Interesting enough, these two stones, different color, but you know what? Same material. Now, how do you suppose it got from this to this? You're right. It was in a fire. And if you look at the pitted stone where it's being pitted, you can see the internal color of the stone, and it matches. Same material. The outer part was near the heat, and it oxidized like crazy. Look at these two. Same stone, same material, in and by the fire. This actually was in a fire pit. This one has just barely been oxidized right there, just barely. And what is it? When I'm holding it, I looked at it, it was round, I recognized the material, and all of a sudden my fingers feel a real light concavity right here, okay? And it's almost not even possible to see it, but boy, you sure can feel it right there. And this one, there's no concavities, but boy, it has been in a fire pit. And I'm going to bring this over by the light a little bit so you can get a better look at this. Look at all the pounding that's gone on the perimeter of this rock. Okay, so we have a hammerstone that ended up in the fire. Come back over here. I've had this piece here before. Somebody had mentioned an anvil, and you're right. There were rocks, I'm going to bring them all the way over here. There were rocks that were definitely used as anvils. And I think the best illustration I saw, and I don't mind saying his name, it's Roy Miller, an excellent Ohio flint knapper. And I watched him make fluted points. And he had the tip of the flute down here, and he had a mechanism that he made all el natural, and he hit it, and the point actually hit this, and he made other artifacts with them hitting this. And I thought, you know what, anvil, and he's going on with his working process. Okay, so it's kind of a pitted stone. Flip him over, pitted stone, and then all around the edge, look at the hammering that went on with this. And that is pretty much typical of paleo in Ohio. We call them Swiss Army knives because their stuff had multiple uses. Well, I think a lot of paleo or a lot of prehistoric people had multiple uses on their things. How common are these? They're pretty common. Here's another pitted stone right here. You can feel it real nice with your fingers. Turning them over, nothing there. Smooth, but definitely pitted right there. I hope you can see that right in that area. Looking at the perimeter, hardly feeling any pounding at all except right there. And that's it. Definitely anvil, definitely anvil. Okay, now here's another big round rock. The material is totally different, and I don't know if you can see that visually or not. This is definitely hardcore granite, and this is fine-grained sandstone. And what really struck my attention is, it did, remember context, a word I use all the time? Does it belong there? Where do I normally find it? It was out of context. It's sandstone on a site, a multi-component site, with no other sandstone. Okay, so that's grounds to pick it up and look at him. Look how perfectly round. Now start looking at him. Not only is he round, but he's been shaped. You know, this is a perfectly round, grounded rock, and you can see that when you pick him up and look at him. You can see the polish on both sides. This was not used as an anvil. Doesn't mean it couldn't be, but this is granite, this is sandstone, this is going to be more prone to breaking, I believe. And then I want to talk about this, real quick mention of this. One field in Delaware County, which is just north of Columbus, Ohio, and the fellow that walked this field, it was one of his lifetime fields that he just went back and he walked and he walked and he walked. And I want to point out some things again. Here's a blade. And again, they can be long, they can be wide, they can be narrow, they can be short. They can be really short, like these Hopewell blades right in here. Look at how this one, this is almost like a flake knife right here. And again, the material is of interest to me. This is not Ohio stuff. This is Indiana hornstone, Warsaw flame. It's from the southern part of Indiana mostly, right here. And slate is something we haven't talked about yet. It's coming. But in the meantime, if you see it, pick it up, take it home. We'll look at it later. More of his field, more of his blades, all Indiana hornstone in Delaware, Ohio, just north of Columbus. And again, the blades can be wide, and they can be narrow, wider, long. Now, a real quickie on this one. Again, you don't have to know what something is to realize it's out of place or doesn't belong. Let's start with something that I bet most of you have found. This one caught my eye just because of the color. And I'm looking at it, looks like a schist type geologic rock. But I grew up in the country on the farm, and I know what a honing stone is. And it's something that we used our knives on. This is a honing stone, but when I look at it, I've got intentional breakage here. And when I examine this, I can actually see a snap. These are not plow snaps. And so I belabored this, and I have my traditional group that gets together every other week during the winter, and we discuss anomalies like this. And guess what somebody said? Well, instead of carrying a giant honing stone in their front pocket when they're out working, maybe they broke it into small pieces. With a little piece like that, you can take your pocket knife or your smaller knife and get your edge back on it, back in your pocket. I thought, man, that is good stuff. Don't know, but it made sense. This one was laying this way. I picked him up and I looked at it, and I'm like, okay, we don't find rock like that in this part of Ohio. Highly polished quartz, highly polished. And I thought, oh boy, it's been broke by a plow. No, it has not. Intentional break, intentional break. And it's still a mystery why the prehistoric people were doing these intentional breaks. We don't know. This was great. This piece now, years ago, I was real quick to put labels on things, and I shouldn't have. And what I did is I screwed up the hole. And I put my name and a number on the site here. But as you look at this, I'm going to turn them real slow. This is a quartz type banner stone. And you can see where the hole went. Right through there. Turn them around this way. Hole right through here. Would have been much larger, much bigger around. But we do have the outer lip of it right here. This was laying like this in the field. And I don't even know why I flipped this piece over, but I did. I'm glad I did. These you just normally don't find rock that looks like this. A lot of mica in it. I looked at it, and I thought, you know, I'm just going to take it home. And I don't even know why I have it in my frame, other than it's a weird shape. This was a weird shaped piece of slate. I cleaned him up, and he's been pecked and put into that position. These are fragments of pipes, either Adena or Hopewell pipes, and we call it Ohio pipestone. Would you have picked these up? Would you have taken a moment? Maybe you're walking too fast in a field. I know the person that picked these up. And my question once again is, would you have picked this up? We're looking at a mastodon bone and part of a mastodon rib right here. And it led to a dig up near Kent State, and they were able to get part of the mastodon out. Field walking, learning to recognize things that just don't seem right. They're just not where they belong. You don't have to know what something is to recognize that it's odd, it's different, it's out of place, and it's my curiosity that's going to bring it home. Take it to an archaeological group and let them help you out. And here's something you all need to jump on, and that is your bibliography or your backup. Most of the central United States and even the southern states, this is one of your archaeological journals that you can subscribe to. I believe 2 or 4, I'm not sure, come out a year. In Ohio, you get 4 of these journals a year. And then in your library, and I'm just going to keep on keeping on promoting these two. Everything you find in this state for the most part, if it's a stone tool or a flint blade, you're going to find them in here. I love this because it goes into the technology of how the blades are made. And I love Gramley's book because it's a wide range of paleo tools. And what's nice is you can see the drift, the lithic drift of here's the initial forging of these tools and how bringing it forward in time up to the late woodland period. They've had the basic shape, but it's evolved and it's changed. It's become more specific. Or maybe they didn't have the fauna that they had back then, and they switched from butchering big animals down to rabbits, things like that. Build your library. Get stuff that's going to help you learn and grow with your knowledge. It's not fun finding yourself in a position where you don't have anybody to help you. This is one of my little teaching frames I put together. In Ohio, we have a really neat culture called the Hopewell culture. Most everything in here, maybe half and half, is not real. And some of it is. But basically, this is a conch shell. Years ago when I was out in California, I found one along the beach, cut it up, and I put it in here. These are copper nuggets that have been pounded, indicative of the Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan area. These are the type of minerals and things that we find on Hopewell sites or in Hopewell mounds. Occasionally you find fossils. We find these a lot on glacial moraines in Ohio. Zero to do with Hopewell, but it's fun to look at. Quartz crystals, mica, obsidian, bone tools. In the bone tools, sometimes you're lucky and you can see drill marks, fragments, things that tell you, hey, they were actually using this. And then Cape Cod coral that oftentimes turns up as different types of beads with some of these places that we walk in. Of course, Flint Ridge flint and quartz crystals. This is the kind of stuff that is laced throughout the Hopewell culture in Ohio. And I'm showing it to you because most mounds by 1940, 1950 had been plowed, maybe not necessarily flat, but they were plowed to where you'd be hard pressed to recognize them, which means anything in there is just spread all over the place. You might find something like this that would say, I need to slow down because there's more. I'm not finding more right now, but I've got a unique area. So this was just a fun teaching frame to say, hey, kind of stuff you would expect to find in a Hopewell area campsite or whatever. Once again, getting you ready to get back out in the field. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. And there's nothing wrong with being told no. It's not a tool. It's a geofact, and you're going to hear that a lot, especially if you're just starting out. I covered cores, I covered blades, bladelets, and we talked about the different celts, and we will build on this as we go down the road. We're hoping to get back out in the field shortly. Either way, hey, thanks for traveling down the road with us. Field Archaeology 101. Stay with us, come back, and we'll see you hopefully soon.